Good afternoon, Alexander. Do you accept to record this interview?
Yes. Good afternoon, Daniela.
Thank you. Can you
For
please
me, for me, good night.
thank
Almost good.
thank you. Do you accept to record this interview?
Oh yes, I
Thank
accept.
you. Can you please introduce yourself?
Okay. My name is Alexandre from Brazil, and my current job, I would say, React Native engineer, React Native developer. The main technologies I am using, I would say, React Native, TypeScript, Redux Saga, Query, and sometimes I have some experience with the Shopify Hairstyle, and I would say one design pattern that I worked in my last job, Atomic Design.
Could you please tell us about your last position?
Okay, I was working at Alpha Point as a React Native engineer. Okay, and we were using React Native, TypeScript, Query, as I mentioned, one design pattern called Atomic Designer and Shopify Style. I was working with a small team or a medium team, I would say, with 6 or 7 people. I was working around one app. I would say a digital wallet in El Salvador. I was working on site and remotely sometimes. Okay, around one digital wallet we called Tive wallet in El Salvador. The user are able to exchange from US dollar to Bitcoin or Bitcoin to US dollar.
Thank you. Can you please tell us your years of experience as a software developer and using React Native?
Okay. So I have been working with the development with the technology for 9 years, and I've been working with the React Native for almost 7 years or 7 years, I would say now. And I have experience with the React Native, but 2 years ago or maybe 3 years ago, I worked with .NET Core when I worked at Ela App. Ela App is a startup in Brazil. Okay, in the first step, I was working with Ionic, and we were using Agile in general. But in the second step, we opted to migrate from Ionic to React Native because we needed more performance. We needed more. Um, we need to scale the application, and in this case, we opted to migrate to Ionic. In my when I worked at Lab, but in my last job when I worked at Alpha Point, I was working as a React Native engineer in a big application, and a lot of people in El Salvador are able to exchange dollars in El Salvador. Is a big application in this country.
Thank you. Can you walk me through a mobile application development project that you have working and your role in it?
Okay, experience a large and scale systems. I would say when I worked at Alpha Point, because uh, Alpha Point built a digital wallet in El Salvador. It's a big system. It's a big. We need a big infrastructure in El Salvador with DevOps, with other systems, web systems, and mobile application called Tivo Wallet. But for example, I built some applications from scratch when I worked at Ela App and Oasis. Oasis company, because in this company, for example, when I worked at Oasis, we built one app from scratch around the financial area. The users are able to pay, for example, their bills by this application. The user are able to enable, disable the application, the account, for example, and we were working with the React Native and the Redux Saga in this case. But when I worked at Alpha Point, we built one application around Bitcoin. Bitcoin, and the user can sell and can buy crypto assets in El Salvador.
Thank you. Explain your experience working on large scaling systems.
Well, this experience at Alpha Point was my first experience working in an international and multicultural environment and multicultural team. But for example, I don't build the application from scratch. In this case, I helped with uh, sometimes new features, sometimes with unit tests in jest, and for example, I implemented some unit tests around this application, but it is a big application, big app in El Salvador, and of course, I don't have experience in DevOps, but we needed a big infrastructure in El Salvador to attend the large application called Tive Wallet, and it was first my first opportunity to work abroad in this case. But when I worked at LAP, I was working with a small team and a small infrastructure around some cloud servers and some technologies in client side and server side.
Thank you. And the last question is, why does this job interest you and why do you think you're a good fit?
Uh, I'm sure about this position is a great opportunity and a great position for me, and I'm a great fit because I have experience with the crypto activos. I have experience with the Bitcoin and React Native, and the most important thing I would say, I'm willing to learn new technologies every day. For example, now I prefer to work with React Native, of course, mobile development, but I'm able to learn new technologies as the client need or as the company need, and I have desire to learn new things. Uh, of course, now I have experience in mobile and React Native, but if the company needs I learned new technology, for example, I will learn everything, and I can learn it so fast, and that's the reason I think I'm a great fit for this position.
Thank you very much. I will stop the recording 1 second.